What's up, everybody? Mike here, and in this Diablo 4 build video, I'm showcasing my leveling build for Necromancer. This is a Reaper-focused build that I created, and it's focused on, applying vulnerability as well as slowing enemies to dish out a bunch of damage, taking advantage of when you put enemies in vulnerability state, and as well as survivability, and essentially making it a sort of beefy tank in a sense, which I was not anticipating to do. I was originally just trying to, make sure this build, like even at early stage, can be a little bit busted in a sense, but also staying alive too. So it's a nice mix of a bit of a tank and DPS, where you're just dishing all the damage and just have a lot of survivability aspects to it. So without further ado, let's get into the abilities. Now, the first in the core abilities that I'm going to go over is the basic attack, Reap. I fully maxed out to rank 5, as it's very good with dealing out damage, and every time you hit your enemy, essentially, you increase your damage reduction by 50% by 2 seconds. So it's very good. You're going to be doing this move a lot anyway. And I know base attacks may not always be the best damage or best utility ability to use, but this build is focused around the base attack as well as the next ability I'm going to go over here in a The next ability here is Sever, which I got to rank 3 for the time being. Spectre of yours charges forward, attacks with a scythe for 496 damage, returns to you and attacks again for 165. Very good. Eventually will max out. And basically, this and the base attack, or what this build is centered around, because there's a Reaper build. And the third core ability I have in here is Decrepify. This ability basically occurs to target area. Enemies afflicted by Decrepify are slowed by 4%. Deal 20% less damage in 10 seconds. Now, this is just the rank 1 version. Obviously, it gets better as you upgrade it. For the time being, though, I only put one stat into it, or point into it, I should say. And I will upgrade it later on, at least to 3. Maybe see how it is at rank 5. But since it's not necessarily the core focus of this in Sever and Reaper, I didn't invest too much in this yet. But you usually want to start off with doing Decrepify, going to Sever. The fourth ability I decided to put in this build is Corpse Tendrils. I felt it was very important to put this in here to essentially help by pulling in the enemies there, and helps with the vulnerability of application status as well. If you don't have enough either essence to essentially keep applying Sever. So this is a nice little extra sort of crowd control attack here you can utilize to help put your enemies into a vulnerable state, and you can just dish out more damage. And then for the ultimate ability here, I got Army of the Dead. As you can see here, cooldown 70 seconds, which just happened in a recent patch. They literally did before the official full launch of the game. So this used to be actually 90 seconds, and it's actually better now. You want to utilize it more often as well too. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun RUs in the game, and this is a level 33 build, so I felt it's good for a good beginner level build, because I want to include the ultimate of some kind, so that way you can kind of get a good taste of like pretty much everything you can utilize in terms of your core abilities. And then lastly, for the key passive, I went with Callan's Edict. After you have not taken damage in the last 3 seconds, your minions gain 50% attack speed. But you have at least 7 minions, this bonus is double. So a very cool passive to utilize, and I wanted to add this in here too with the ultimate, because I felt it was important to see how this build worked with a key passive and an ultimate, to sort of basically round it out. And honestly, it's fantastic. Like, you just wreck through enemies. It's so cool. When it comes to the rotation of abilities, I was kind of mentioning earlier that you essentially want to start off with Decrepify to slow them down, and then go into Sever to apply that vulnerability, usually on the 4th hit, and then basic attack for a bit there usually. And then we were able to, got a corpse or 2 down the ground, and go into Corporal Tendrils to basically reapply some vulnerability again if the vulnerability is already gone off, and then go into more damage there. And then when it's an elite enemy or even a boss fight, you usually want to say that ultimate ability Army of the Dead for those type of enemies, to help get them whittled down even faster. And basically, here's a look at the full skill tree of what I've been diving into so far with this leveling build. As you see here, Reap rank 5. In the enhancements here, I did enhanced Reap here. If an enemy hit by Reap dies within 2 seconds, you gain 30% attack speed for 3 seconds. Then I went into initiates Reap. And then going further down here, Sever is at 3 right now. And then went into enhanced Sever. and then Paranormal Sever. And then moving on down here, actually before we do that, Unliving Energy, I decided to put 1 point in that, as well as Imperfectly Balanced, put 1 point in that for the time being. Do not mind the Blood Surge. That's just from a gear that automatically put a point in there, so don't worry about that. I did put 1 point in Skeletal Warrior Mastery, and went down here to Decrepify, put 1 point there. Enhanced Decrepify, that's so hard for me to say for some reason. And then Horrid Decrepify as the next upgrade for that. I didn't put anything messing with the Skeletal Maze Mastery yet. Most likely I will later. Next, Corporal Tendrils. Just put 2 points into that so far, and did Enhanced Corpse Tendrils, and then Plague Corpse Tendrils. So very good there to do upgrades for it. And then I went to the 4 shadow traits here. Got 1 point in the Gloom, 1 point in the Reaper's Pursuit, 1 point in the Crippling Darkness, and 1 point in the Terror. I do believe that's roughly about it before we get to the ultimate. Just want to double check, but yeah, I think that's it. And then obviously got the Army of the Dead ultimate and had to enhance this. Added Prime Army of the Dead, and then also Supreme Army of the Dead in here as well. And then below it here, Inspiring Leader, put 1 point into that. Bonded and Essence, 1 point into that. Death's Defense, 1 point into that, which is very good for your minions. Hellbent Commander as well, put 1 point into that, which is also very good for your minions. And then, as I mentioned earlier as well too, the key passive here is Callan's Edict. So that is the skill tree of what I've built so far. Level 33 is the intended leveling build level for this. I also don't want to forget this when we go into the Book of the Dead. I want to mention how I got the Skeletal Warriors and Skeletal Mages set up. So as you can see here, I decided to go with Reapers. This is a Reaper build, Reaper theme. Want to keep up with the theme of this. And I don't use a sacrifice, even though you could if you want to. If you want to try it out, experiment. You know, that's what these builds are for in Diablo 4. Is have fun experimenting. You know, you don't have to do everything I do. But yeah, I went with the first upgrade here. Reaper attacks against enemies who are immobilized, slow, stunned, or will reduce cooldown of their powerful wind up by 2 seconds. You can also do this instead if you want to create more corpses, so that way you have more ample opportunity to essentially basically use corpse tendrils or even refill your undead army and sort of your gang here, so because they will die eventually. Skeletal Mages, I decided I would go with the Shadow version. There's also Cold Bone if you want to try those out, but I went with the first upgrade here in the Shadow version of the Mages here, where your attacks have a 10% chance to stun for 2.08 seconds. This can happen to the same enemy more than once every 5 seconds. So if you want to mess around with the second one, or even, like I said, sacrifice, go ahead, have at it, try it out. Have not messed with the golems yet, but decided to go with the second one here. Your Arm Golem Slam attack also makes enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds, because honestly, the longer and more times enemies stay vulnerable, the more damage output I do, and that's fantastic. So lastly, with the gear, you want to focus on mainly like gear that will increase your intelligence as well as your willpower. As you can see here, I have 144 intelligence, 92 willpower, strength 95, dexterity 66. But yeah, you don't necessarily have to have legendary gear, but I decided to do that. You should be fine with rare type of gear here, but I'll just show you here. Not going to go into full details about it, but I see here, if you can, please do so. Get, you know, great gear that works for you, that has stats that like help you out a lot. Even if it has something like, you know, rank 1+ rank of Blood Surge, something else. If the rest of it overall will benefit you, utilize it for the time being. You're going to be, you know, going through gear a lot. Don't really try to mid-max anything. Just do what's best for you at the time, and you'll be all right. But yeah, this is what I decided to go with overall. Also pay attention to your gems and insert the right gem slots as well for your build that you want to utilize. And that is going to pretty much wrap it up there. So hopefully this build was helpful to you. Please drop a like, subscribe if you're new. Give me your thoughts on this as well too. Let me know what builds you're doing for your Necromancer. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you for watching.